Hi folks, thanks for tuning in. In this video, we're talking about scaffolding, layering, and learning. Some learning concepts to help you think about learning and maybe help you learn better. All right, learning and ways to learn. It's to help you, some techniques, some analogies, talk about the scaffold, the layers, and what if you're in a hole. So why have I thought about this? Why have I built this video? I've had to learn a lot in my life, many complex things, sometimes lots of simple things that I needed to know and be able to recall instantly. This is from college, state police, army, law school. I've studied for cybersecurity and technology and privacy certifications, and I've trained and taught others. I've got experiences that informed how I learn and also how I think a lot of other people learn. And I've got 3 analogies for learning that help me, and I think help me when I teach others, and I think helps those students also. Now imagine this scenario. Let's suppose you're taking college physics. You never took physics before. It all is so new, and you feel like you're going to fail the course. Everything's a different language, or it seems like it. There are all these equations and formulas. You need to learn them, and they all kind of build on each other, and it's all one part of a big course, and you're struggling. So what do you do? Now, this was me, my first year in college. Now, imagine this scenario. You're teaching cyber law to college students. The semester is almost over. You've had 14 weeks of instruction. Your last class is a recap, and then you give them a quiz at the end of the class. You collect the quizzes, you review the answer, and one question was really easy, or you thought, but so many students got it wrong. You know what that question was? List the 3 branches of government, which is a pretty low-level, level 1 thing to know if you want to understand basic law and especially cyber law. Now, if they got this wrong, what else did they not understand? Were they unable to reach that level 1 of learning to get to those other levels to understand complex areas of cyber law? All right, now imagine this scenario. Let's say you're taking high school biology and algebra, or maybe you're tutoring a student who's taken that. And then the student or you're lost in each of these topics in math and science. And the student is so lost, they have no idea what the teacher is saying. And if it's you, imagine you're failing the quizzes and tests. You're lost. It seems hopeless. Do you give up? Do you decide forever that you cannot do math or science? Or do you get to work digging out of the hole? Whatever your knowledge level, you can improve it on whatever type of topic, math, science, law, you name it. Whatever you're struggling with, whatever you are loving and learning more. You can learn more, maybe you can learn better, and we've all been lost at times in various topics. Whatever the topic is. Could be law, science, math, it could be any topic. So learning basics. If you're learning something, that means it goes into your mind. It gets in there. You can use it from your mind. Communicate it to other people. Maybe you're speaking about it to explain it or demonstrate your knowledge. Maybe you're writing about it. And then you can build other thoughts from that knowledge you have. We all learn one step at a time, one layer at a time. Now, granted, everybody learns a little bit different, but there are some commonalities. Now, I've learned, taught, and tutored. I know what helps me learn. I have a sense of what helps others learn, although we know every person's different, got different styles, ways of learning. Some things help more than others for certain people. Now, I have a sense when students are putting in effort, and sometimes they're not. I've tutored and helped students who are stuck in a hole. So I help them get out, help them master what had been missed, one step one layer at a time. Now, many topics are hard, and every topic can get very hard. It just depends how deep into it you get. So if you pick that topic area, you can see there's simple areas, there's complex parts. So math, there's a simple part of math, right? 1 + 1 = 2. We all know that. That's really simple. And I think we all appreciate how complex math can get. Algebra, geometry, factoring, differential equations, it goes on and on. There are some people who they spend their lives studying math. They're really smart too. Science, it's got simple too. What's a simple science fact? Hey, gravity pulls us down, but we can get more complex than that too. Gravitational equations, gravitational forces among multiple planets, bodies. In fact, there was a show on that, the 3-body problem, because that's complex, I guess. Quantum physics, science gets really complicated. Law, there's simple parts to law. I try to make it really simple. You look at my 5 or so minute video on what is law, I'm making it as simple as I can. Try to explain law in one short sentence. That's a simple way of looking at what law is. And law gets very complex also. In fact, you could argue that's what lawyers' job is to do. Make it complex. Write a 100-page brief or court decision to explain just how complex the legal and factual issues are. So think about some things you might decide to memorize, and let's call this level 1, where you're just memorizing the basics about it. You know, in geometry, it might be y = mx + b, equation for a linear equation. Or you might want to add to that y = mx + b, where m is the slope, b is the y-intercept, adding a little. Y = ax² + bx + c. These might be things, some geometry equations. These might be things you decide you need to memorize so that they can kind of become a part of you. For physics, force = mass times acceleration. That's something you got to know. Even if you can look these things up on another chart or reference table, these are things you really kind of need in your brain. Momentum is mass times velocity. Equation for kinetic energy. What is the constant pi? 3.14. You know, to know those 3 digits, you're doing pretty good. You probably don't need to spend 2 hours learning it out to 10 digits, although I know some people who do. The speed of light, good to have a sense of what that is. And in the Army, there was memorization of lots of stuff, including you have certain military equipment. If it jams, you need to be able to clear it automatically. So there'd be a acronym and words for that acronym so that you remember exactly what to do and don't have to think about it. So let's talk about this scaffolding. We scaffold up to learn. If we're at level 0, we don't really know anything. We haven't learned anything. We haven't climbed up. So we got to build our scaffold, just like you see me drawing, and you build it up to get to level 1. And maybe that's learning basic facts, or you're just memorizing the words, and you practice and repeat until those words come quickly. Maybe you don't even know what those words mean yet, but at least you know the words. And then level 2, we're building up 2 levels, and now maybe we know the words and we can explain them simply, and we want to practice not just the building, but also our being able to climb up there. And some of that is, hey, how fast can we recall it? How confident are we in our knowledge, or are we unsure? So now this is the extent of my art. You can tell I'm not using AI tools for this art, but here our stick figure is building and climbing up to get there. And that's just one way, and there he puts his arms up. This is just one way to think of how we build our learning to get to higher levels. Now, another analogy is we're digging to deeper layers of learning. So we can think of layer 1 as being what's on the surface, and we just want to be aware of what is right in front of us on the surface. Study it, maybe memorize it. Then we dig deeper, say to layer 2, for more areas of complexity, more nuance. Maybe we're explaining the words, and then of course we can keep digging down. So we can kind of think of this as an archaeological dig, like we're Indiana Jones. We're excavating all this information and treasure and knowledge. And of course, there's no limit to how far you can dig down. So what if we're lost in that class, lost in that course? The teacher's talking and it sounds like Charlie Brown when Charlie Brown hears the teacher. It's wah, 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 wah. You don't understand the words. You're reading that textbook and you don't understand half of the words. You can't make any sense out of it when you don't understand those words. So you're in a hole. You're stuck. You're lost. Can't really build that scaffold, but what can we do? We can climb out of that hole. And how do we climb out of that hole? One step at a time. So we're digging out of that hole. So you got to dig some footholds and handholds. See, we're digging 1, digging 2, digging 3, digging 4. We've dug those footholds and handholds. Now we want to practice climbing up as far as you can. You may not be able to climb out right away, but you're learning facts, learning words, learning to define those important words. Practice and repetition. You're gaining confidence. And you're climbing higher and higher, and maybe you got to go up and down a couple times, but eventually you climb up until you are out of that hole. And that's the lesson. You can dig and climb out, but it doesn't come by magic. It takes effort, right? It takes a lot of effort and sometimes struggle. And so here's some ways to put in that effort, some ways to implement it. And this is kind of a task-oriented way. So in the analogy, if we're thinking of what we're doing in the analogy, we're saying, hey, I'll build this scaffold level today or in this 50-minute study session, or I'll just attach these 2 supports, or I'll dig 1 foothold. But practically speaking, what you're doing is saying, hey, I'm going to learn, let's say, the 3 objectives of cybersecurity are confidentiality, integrity, availability. I'm going to learn that fact, or I'm going to learn that fact about the 3 branches of government. And how am I going to learn that? One way is you could say, I'll write it out by hand 10 times, or I'll say it aloud 10 times. You know, when you do it that many times, it becomes automatic, and you've kind of learned it. Another way is time-oriented, and the Pomodoro technique is really helpful. And I talk about some of these techniques in my article, How to Learn and Study. And I also have a course on Udemy, full course on how to learn, study, and all that. You can say, I will spend X minutes studying it or repeating it. If that's 5 minutes, because you only have 5 minutes now, or 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, that gets a lot done. And for that period of time, you focus, and when that time's up, then you take a break. And you would be amazed what you can get done if you say, this is all I'm doing for these amount of minutes. So you want to think, hey, what do you really know? And what can you learn? Sometimes we think we know something, but we don't really know it. So sometimes you need to test yourself. Demonstrate you know it. Can you communicate it with someone else? Can you say it out loud? Can you write it down? And how quickly does that come to you? Do you have to think about it for 10 seconds or 5 minutes? Even doing that helps your brain. But the faster you can recall certain things, and if some things are instant and automatic, that can help you get to the next layer. And there's no magic tricks here. It takes effort to improve what we know and how fast we recall it. Now, here's caveats. Memorization is not a substitute for using your brain, so I'm not trying to say if you can memorize everything, you'll be a great learner. Because learning is more than just memorizing things, but sometimes we need to memorize certain details to help us get to the next level of learning. And it helps make certain things come quicker if underlying facts are right there on your brain. And if we can break complex topics into simpler topics that we can memorize or understand, that does help us learn. Okay, wrapping this up, we talked about some learning concepts, the concept of scaffolding, where we're building one level at a time, and we practice climbing up and down it so we can climb it easily. There's the layering concept, where we learn what's on the surface, then we dig down one layer at a time and keep digging. And then the concept of digging yourself out of a hole. It is never hopeless. You can scratch those handholds and footholds out. You practice climbing up, higher handholds and footholds until you get out. Now, there is no magic for learning. I know lots of people are trying to sell the magic solution. It does not exist. There's just solid tips and honest effort and getting to know yourself and what works for you. You want a deeper understanding? I've got additional resources in the next slide, and they are also in the description. And that deeper understanding, including of learning, comes with your practice and your effort. Here's the references, resources, additional reading, my articles. I've got a free online course, at least it's free for now. It'll probably remain free. And the usual disclaimers. All of this will be in the description. Thank you for listening. You take care. I hope this helps you.